This IRL streamer has to be the most infuriating influencer on the internet, and he was just handed a slice of humble pie that looks like it's about to bring him even more bad karma. He's an American known to travel abroad and kick up chaos and offense for clicks, and somehow has always seemingly gotten away with it, while at most only getting banned from entry back into some countries. But now he was recently convicted of crimes in South Korea related to these public disturbances and insanely offensive behavior obviously intended to inflame outrage. And as a result, he's serving 6 months and 20 days in prison with required labor in a prison run in a language he doesn't speak, with a culture he seemingly doesn't understand, and he's going to have to navigate all of that somehow. Now, 6 months and 20 days isn't a terribly long time, but depending on the conditions and culture of the prison, this can be an eternity for some people. But with that said, there are many out there scratching their heads about what they see as a shorter sentence, because seemingly he should be serving something closer to 3 years. But now appeals have apparently been filed by the prosecutor, one of the alleged victims, and oddly enough, the defendant himself, despite his super short sentencing. And that means there's a good chance that things get substantially worse for the defendant from this point forward. And the judge has faced a lot of criticism over this shorter sentencing, but the more I think about it, the more I think the judge may have actually intended all of this to play out in a certain way that would end up punishing the guy even more. In other words, I kind of think this may have been a brilliant yet subtle chess move by the judge here. Let's get into it. This is Ramzi Khalid Ismail, known on the internet as Johnny Somali. He's 25 years old, an American, and what's known as an IRL streamer. IRL stands for in real life, meaning he live streams people in everyday life, and like many others in this niche, usually causes a lot of nuisance to a lot of other people in these streams in order to drive attention. He describes himself as an internet troll, and his whole business model, it looks like it's farming outrage from locals abroad for YouTube, Twitch, and Kick clicks, although he's been banned from several platforms now. I will say, as an American who has been living overseas for over 5 years now, I find guys like this to be a total scourge. And that's not just to the local people that they're preying on, but also to the rest of us Americans who are just trying to travel and live abroad in a respectful kind of way. He's the stereotypical ugly American, and he's making the rest of us look terrible. This whole incident that we're talking about here wasn't even Somali's first rodeo either. Before this, he was kicked out of Israel after making a nuisance of himself there. And he also was booted from Japan after ranting Hiroshima and Nagasaki through a speaker in public. And not to mention, in the summer of 2024, Japanese police actually arrested him on suspicion of trespassing at a hotel construction site in Osaka.
Police arrested a troublemaking American live streamer on September 21st on suspicion of trespassing in Osaka. Johnny Somali and his cameraman allegedly entered a hotel construction site in the western Japanese city without permission on August 30th. Somali, whose real name is Ismail Ramzi Khalid, broke into the site with his face masked while Branch Jeremiah Dwayne filmed him for the live streaming. The 24-year-old Somali is known for his problematic behavior while live streaming from various parts of Japan. Police are investigating whether his other actions can be deemed as illegal. The suspects have told investigators they will not say anything until their lawyer arrives.
So when he rolled into South Korea in September 2024, the chaos was not exactly a surprise. And I'll get into his Seoul outrage bender in just a moment. But first, I do have to thank this video sponsor for making videos like this possible. Mother's Day is right around the corner, and if you're like many people, you might still be trying to figure out the right gift for your wife, your mom, your mother-in-law, or your best mom friend. So this year, let this video's sponsor, Tingly, help you out. Tingly is an experience gift voucher beautifully packaged in a gift box. And not only that, but they're America's top-rated experience gift with 150,000 plus choices available worldwide. It's an experience gift voucher in a premium gift box or instant e-voucher that lets your mom choose her own unforgettable experience. And if you act quickly, you can get the exclusive Tingly deal. If you follow the link in the description below and use the code LEGAL, you'll get 23% off all experience and hotel gift boxes. With Tingly, there's no guessing sizes or tastes or preferences. It's just a gift that is basically guaranteed to delight. From relaxing spa days and weekend getaways to cooking classes, wine tastings, and gourmet dinners, Tingly gives her what every mom secretly wants most: time for herself, joy, and some meaningful memories. And aside from the fact that we can also use this where we're stationed overseas right now, here is a feature that I personally love most. There is no expiration date, because let's be real, I am talking from personal experience. Mom is probably too busy taking care of everyone else to worry about a use it immediately or lose it kind of gift. Anyway, Tingly isn't just for Mother's Day. It also works beautifully for birthdays, anniversaries, weddings, and any occasion where you want to give a gift that's thoughtful, personal, and unforgettable. So anyway, if you're looking for a high quality, meaningful gift for the mom in your life, get the exclusive Tingly deal. Go to tingly.com/legalbytes and use code LEGAL for 23% off all experience and getaway gift boxes. That's TINGGLY.com/legalbytes. And thanks again to Tingly for sponsoring this video. Okay, so let's get back to this ridiculous streamer's horrible and apparently unlawful behavior in Seoul, South Korea. As usual, it looks like he was up to his typical antics. First up was a convenience store in Mapo district.
Somali loudly listens to music while dancing and intentionally spills the ramen he's eating on the floor and throws the noodles about.
From there, it just kept getting worse. He went around blasting music on buses and subways. He also at some point went to an amusement park called Lottie World, harassing staff. And then came one of the most despicable parts of this whole story: the deepfake. Specifically, Somali posted a fake video of himself kissing a Korean female influencer known as Bong Bong, and he claimed that they were in some kind of a romantic relationship.
During one of his live streams, Somali shows 2 videos of him kissing a female YouTuber, claiming she is his girlfriend. However, some viewers raised questions that the clips look unnatural and speculated that it was created using deepfake AI. Such suspicions seem to have been justified when the original video of the female streamer had no kissing scenes. Angered viewers informed the female YouTuber to sue Somali, and supposedly she will take legal action against the American. Under South Korea's sexual violence protection law, a person who makes and/or disseminates AI and deepfake videos can face upwards of up to 7 years in prison or be fined $36,000.
But then came arguably like the apex of his despicable behavior. He decided it was a great idea to climb on, kiss, and do a lewd dance on what is known as the Statue of Peace in Itaewon. And let me take a step back here really quick, because context really matters here. The Statue of Peace is one of many statues in and outside of Korea that honors Korea's comfort women. These were girls and women who were forced into sexual slavery by the Japanese Imperial Army during World War II. And aside from Korea, it included women from China, Japan, Taiwan, the Philippines, Indonesia, Malaysia, Vietnam, Thailand, East Timor, and the Dutch Indies, and this also included European women in Japanese-occupied territories. You see, as the Japanese military expanded in the late 1930s, they apparently began coercing local women from these various occupied territories. The Japanese military apparently justified it with reasons like they were boosting army morale and they were preventing rapes by soldiers. But the coerced women, often young girls, had no say in any of it. And the thing is, nearly a century later, this topic still isn't resolved. Survivors and organizations have spent decades demanding an apology, reparations, and formal recognition from Japan's government, but apparently there has yet to be an official response that they find satisfactory. So these statues that Johnny Somali chose to degrade for clicks, they represent one of the deepest wounds in Korea's modern history, and also a very, very sensitive topic between both Korea and Japan. And the thing is, as I talk about this, I really want to handle it sensitively because this is the kind of story that can easily get used as a political football. And I also want to note that Japan wasn't the only offender with World War II era forced sex trades, and not even the only one in Asia. In fact, there is reporting that after the war, some Japanese women were forced into similar roles under the Soviet Red Army in Manchuria. So this kind of pain isn't unique, but the Statue of Peace specifically represents Korean victims, and Somali chose that as his punchline for clicks. So when word got out, Korean streamers, frustrated with Somali's outrageous behavior, started hunting him.
Table seems to have turned as he is now being used to help Korean online streamers generate views. After videos of Koreans, including one streamer, assaulting Somali went viral, many Korean YouTubers are seeking out the American in the hopes of causing an altercation so they can either stream or even incite the scuffle. Within South Korea, Johnny Somali is known as a golden goblin, a gamer reference to a creature whose perk is when you kill them you get rewards and loot. While many here think that confronting Somali and exacting retribution is karma and can be seen as dispensing justice, others are questioning whether it is right for people to take matters into their own hands on behalf of local police for failing to deal with Somali's antisocial behavior.
And so here's where Somali tried to get ahead of it. On November 7th, 2024, a Korean YouTube channel called J Company escorted him to the Statue of Peace in Dobong District, Seoul, where he delivered this very public on-camera apology.
American YouTuber Johnny Somali, who has caused an uproar in South Korea with his outrageous acts such as kissing the Statue of Peace, has publicly apologized. On Wednesday, he visited the Statue of Peace installed at Changdong History and Culture Park in Seoul and said he wanted to apologize to the Korean people.
I want to apologize to the Korean people. I was not aware of the significance of the statue. You know what I mean? It was just entertainment for my audience.
The YouTuber said he did not know much about the meaning behind the Statue of Peace, which symbolizes the victims of Japan's wartime sexual slavery known as the Comfort Women, and that he did not know how painful that part of the past is for Koreans.
My intention in coming to Korea was not to cause this kind of stuff. My intention was to come here, do my live streams, make content, and be funny.
He also added that he did not want to hurt anyone or get anybody in trouble, and that he learned such behavior is absolutely unacceptable in Korea. Somali then stood in front of the Statue of Peace, apologized in Korean, and bowed his head for his wrongdoing.
So to all the people of South Korea, I just want to apologize for what I've done, and I really did not mean to hurt your guys' pride this much, and I will no longer talk about your statue or touch it ever again. I hope that I can live in peace here in South Korea.
Somali also said he wants to meet Comfort Women survivors in person, interview them, and learn about their past. During his travel in Korea over the past month, the American live streamer uploaded a video of himself kissing the Statue of Peace in Itaewon and performing a lewd dance in front of the monument.
Sounds sincere, right? Well,
not this time. No, not this time.
You see, Koreans called this apology out instantly as nothing more than a performance, doubting his sincerity hard. And you know, there's good reason for this, because the moment they all checked his social media accounts, it was immediately apparent that he hadn't even cleaned house. Among other things, there still existed a post of him holding a picture of former Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe with a caption that read, "I defeated Koreans for you, Shinzo Abe." He had deleted the YouTube version, but the Instagram post was still up. He had just changed the caption to RIP Shinzo Abe. For context, Shinzo Abe was the longest serving Prime Minister in Japanese history, and he served a couple times, the second time he resigned in 2020. He was also the mentor of current PM Sanae Takaichi, but that changed when he was shockingly assassinated during a campaign speech in 2022. Now, I am no expert on Japanese politics or on Japanese-South Korean relations, but this just sounds like more nonsense by an idiot who is trying to rage bait people at every possible opportunity. Okay. So let's talk charges. Somali was ultimately prosecuted on a bunch of them, including obstruction of business, public nuisance charges, and for distributing sexual deepfakes. And it looks like his main convictions were for obstruction of business and for the deepfake content. Now, a lot of Americans hear offensive speech abroad, and immediately the First Amendment comes to mind. But here's one important detail. The United States Constitution does not follow you across the border. And honestly, even in the United States, where we have a robust First Amendment, a lot of what Somali did would likely be illegal or at the very least unlawful. Public disturbances, we have breach of the peace laws in basically every single state. Targeting an individual with offensive conduct, that could be a claim for intentional infliction of emotional distress. And those deepfakes? Oh boy. In May 2025, Congress passed the Take It Down Act. And on top of that, nearly every state already also has their own laws banning the creation or sharing of intimate deepfakes of non-consenting people. So that federal law adds federal penalties on top of state laws for non-consensual intimate deepfakes. So no, I don't see many opportunities for Somali to legitimately invoke the First Amendment here as a defense, even in an American court. He wasn't delivering some kind of political message through all of this. He was just trolling. Throughout this whole investigation and prosecution, he's been doing things like wearing MAGA hats and waving Japanese rising sun flags. I think these were cosplay for attention, not genuine political expression. And speaking of things like First Amendment protections, if you have a real legal issue in your life and you are looking for some kind of representation, contact us at the Bytes Law Group at bytes.law. We're partnered with firms all across the United States, so if you follow the link in the description below, we can see if we can help find you quality legal representation in your jurisdiction. Anyway, let's get back to the story. On April 15th, 2026, the Seoul Western District Court handed down its verdict against Johnny Somali. And that turned out to be 6 months in prison, plus 20 days of detention, and a 5-year ban on working with children or people with disabilities. I don't see any scenario where Somali had any kind of plans to work with children or people with disabilities, but it is what it is, I guess. Anyway, the court also ordered immediate detention after determining that he was a flight risk. But here's the kicker. Prosecutors had originally asked for 3 years in prison. 6 months is kind of a massive drop from that. And now here's where I want to point out that, of course, I'm an American lawyer. I am not nearly as familiar with the Korean legal system as I am with the American one. And normally in these videos, I'd be using filings from a court docket that can be accessed by the public. And that's because I like going directly to the source material. But here, I kind of need to rely on either articles that are written by journalists or on people who are in the courtroom during these proceedings and who have learned about this whole process along the way. And that's why I want to bring in some clips from the YouTuber Atozi, who's been covering this case from the beginning, even flying from the US to Seoul for many hearings. And in his coverage, he's often joined by someone named Gabe Salgado. Gabe is a filmmaker and producer based in Seoul who runs the YouTube channel Culture Brat. He's a seasoned investigative documentarian focused on IRL streamers in Korean courtrooms, and so he's picked up a lot of knowledge about this kind of thing over the recent years. And in one of Atozi's videos about this case, Gabe broke down the 3 aggravating factors that the judge actually named.
3 aggravating factors. I think there are more aggravating factors in my opinion, but the judge pointed out 3 aggravating factors for sentencing. Disrespecting the law on YouTube, like outwardly disrespecting Korean law repeatedly. We all know he did that. Continuing to harass people online, unspecified victims, unknown victims, unidentified. So these are crimes that were unindicted. And so he pointed that out. That was happening during the trial. He pointed that out. And also that his activity online could incite copycat crimes. So all of those things the judge said are very serious.
So the obvious question here is, why only 6 months? According to Gabe, the lawyer for the deepfake victim had some comments of his own about this.
And so Lee Dong-ho says, so why didn't you take those aggravating circumstances into consideration with the sentencing length? 6 months for all that?
Yeah.
Like, where did the aggravating factors come in? But what he really took issue with was the judge saying that he did not, it was not proven that the victims in the deepfake case suffered sufficient or severe shame. So that statement, the lawyer Lee Dong-ho, he really takes issue with, and he says, why such a low sentence?
Yeah.
Especially since my client, in fact, did suffer shame and did suffer damage as a result. So what did the victim say in court when she was testifying? She did say that his actions led to a lot of hate and insults by the Korean public against her, things that would never have happened if it weren't for him. And she said that was very damaging and very difficult. She did speak of the shame that she felt from the whole thing, but she spoke in sort of a nuanced way, and she was very calm and composed on the stand.
Right.
And this lawyer is very concerned that her calm and composure led people to think everything's okay. And he says that sends a very bad message, that if you are a victim, that you're going to have to put on an emotional act or something like that in order to get, results. He said that this is a very low sentence. It's a lenient sentence that is unreasonably lenient, like materially unreasonable. And so that's his opinion. And he says that I'm going to do everything I can to support the prosecution in this appeal. And we hope to raise the sentence to something that's more in keeping with the precedent.
And now, obviously, from my position right here, I can't tell you why the judge went light on the sentence. But I have a feeling it might have been an intentional move by the judge specifically to make Johnny Somali's life worse in the coming months. Here's why. So to explain this, let me first take a step back and remind you that since the sentencing, it looks like 3 different appeals have already been filed. One apparently by Bong Bong's attorney, who Gabe Salgado talked about before, another one by the prosecutor, and one by Johnny Somali himself.
So, what is even going on? Okay, so I guess there's a few updates. So first you have like the official statement from the Victims Council.
Right.
That came out. Then you also have the appeal by Johnny, and then now the appeal by the prosecutor.
That's right. The prosecutor has also appealed. So what that means, this is a complete game changer. It means that April 15th was not the end. It's just the beginning of the end. And this prosecutor is going to go for something much closer to that 3-year recommendation at the beginning, because a reduction from 3 years to 6 months is manifestly unreasonable. It's ridiculous, and everybody knows it. And the prosecutor has decided to appeal that. So this is a process by which they're going to try to get closer to that 3 years.
Now, if all of this is correct, there's one thing that I want to point out here right away. This is already different than how things would play out in American courts. In the American criminal justice system, alleged victims have no right to appeal a verdict issued to someone else. That's because they just don't have standing. And a prosecutor is barred from appealing any criminal case verdict because the Fifth Amendment's double jeopardy clause prevents a person from being tried for the same crime twice. So in the US, you would never see like a triple appeal sort of situation. Only the defendant can appeal a criminal case verdict. And on top of that, the prosecution really only gets one chance to convict. No appeals, no retrials. The only exception is when a mistrial happens. For example, when there's a hung jury, they can't reach a unanimous verdict. But in South Korea, while they have their own constitutional protection against double jeopardy, it's done differently. And the way that apparently plays out is that the prosecutor gets up to 3 chances. They can appeal from the trial court to the higher court and then to the Supreme Court. And the reason is because the Korean legal system has a different definition of what a conclusion of a legal case means. Specifically, a case isn't fully concluded until one of 2 things happens. Either the prosecutor decides not to appeal, or the Supreme Court makes a final decision. And the only exception that I've been able to find is for certain Americans prosecuted in Korea. And that's for American service members and their families that are stationed with them under the U.S.-Korea Status of Forces Agreement, or SOFA for short. This agreement gives those specific people American-style double jeopardy protections. But Johnny Somali obviously has nothing to do with American military service, so that exception doesn't apply here. But this is just another example of why you don't want to be a complete idiot when you go abroad. Like I said before, generally speaking, if you're an American and you go abroad, the US Constitution, generally speaking, does not follow you. And if you play stupid games, you will win stupid prizes. But now going back to the subject of these appeals, apparently there are multiple consequences of these appeals being filed. The first consequence is that Somali is incarcerated right now after his sentencing. And apparently he'll stay incarcerated until the appeal plays out. From what it looks like, that's at least another 5 months.
With labor. But for some reason, he decided to appeal. Remember in my last stream, I was saying, oh, the prosecutor might appeal because, the prosecutor's trying to extend a sentence. So that's why they would want to appeal. Why would he appeal? I don't know. I guess he was misinformed because from what I know, the average time for a new trial to start is about 5 months. So he's in prison for 6 months, remember? So by the time his trial is almost, or by the time his prison time is almost finished, his trial is just getting started, his new trial. So that's going to go on for months. So I don't know what he's thinking there, but we have a whole lot of new information. So today I have Gabe with me here today, and he's going to help me break down all the new information about this whole case. So welcome, Gabe. Thank you for joining the stream.
Yeah, for sure.
So that appears to be the majority of his current sentence, playing out in a detention center. The second consequence here is that with this appeal, the prosecutor and the alleged victim get another swing at Johnny Somali. They can argue why the sentence should be way higher, maybe closer to 3 years. And that's a brand new chance in front of a brand new panel of judges. But arguably the worst part about this for Johnny Somali is the fact that, as I just mentioned, he spends all of that time sitting in a detention center. And according to Gabe Salgado, detention centers have even worse conditions than even a labor prison.
An attorney to do this?
So what happens is, as soon as you're detained, they detain you for a week in a detention center. There are several in Seoul, and there are rumors, unconfirmed rumors, that he is at a place called Seoul Nambu Detention Center. And if you look on Kakao Map or Naver Map, you'll just see a bunch of trees that are photoshopped in to hide it. But on Google Map, you can find it. Seoul Nambu Detention Center. And so they keep you in this detention center for a week because they want to see if there's going to be an appeal. You have a week to appeal. And if there is an appeal, they keep you there for the entire appeal. And the detention centers are worse than prison, and they're worse than labor with prison with labor even. So he done played himself again.
Okay, wait. So he's not even doing his actual prison time. He's just subtracting his detention time.
It's this time in the detention center is going to count towards his prison time, but it's going to be worse and more boring and more physically grueling and more unpleasant than prison itself. It's sort of this purgatory, on your way to prison, and getting stuck there is one of the worst things that can happen. But he stuck himself there anyway. The prosecutor did appeal, so he would have stayed there anyway, and this is going to go on. If it goes according to the normal schedule, it'll start around September. And mind you, he's supposed to get released in
October-ish?
October, but because of the 20 days, maybe early November. Early mid-November is when he is supposed to be released. But September is according to the timeline, around when the second trial will start. So he will be in detention until the trial begins and until the trial ends. And then if either party appeals to the Supreme Court, which is also very easy to do, then he stays in the detention center also until that final appeal is done.
And in my research, I found an article on the overcrowding of Korean prisons that actually supports these statements. Detention centers are apparently even more overcrowded than post-conviction prisons, which on their own tend to be well above capacity. Now, as I've said, this judge is apparently catching a lot of criticism for this sentencing. I mean, based on what we've looked at so far, it does seem like it's a pretty insanely low sentencing on its face. But the more I think about it, the more I think that this may have been the judge's subtle, clever way of actually giving Somali a harsher punishment. I mean, think about it this way. The judge obviously knows what Korea's prisons and detention centers are like. And he also obviously would know that Somali would be sitting in a detention center during this appeals process. And by handing down a sentence that seems to make sense to absolutely no one, he effectively guarantees an appeal. And that means he guarantees that Somali is spending months in a detention center as opposed to a regular prison. And the thing that really makes me think that this is all intentional is this. Throughout this investigation, prosecution, litigation, this idiot, Johnny Somali, thought he was being smart when he went on live streams and insulted all kinds of people, to include the judge during this case.
Shout out the president, you, the judge, prosecutor, y'all can suck my yeah, on soft. Tell them what the charges is. Carrying a fish, tell them.
Carrying a fish and causing anxiety.
Causing anxiety by carrying a fish. Tell the judge you can suck my I'll bring a fish to your mother's house. I don't care.
And the thing is, I've talked about this so many times on this channel. When you're involved in any kind of litigation, whether that is criminal or civil, you do not want to anger the judge that is presiding over your case. And you certainly don't want to be insulting them. That's because they have all kinds of ways to bring that bad karma right back to you. And so in my personal opinion, I think looking at this whole case, I think that's exactly what's going on right here.
See, as you can see, the more you around, the more you're going to find out.
So the way I see it, we're looking at a self-described troll who thought he was untouchable abroad. He got a shockingly light sentence and insulted the judge throughout the case. And in my opinion, at least, the judge may have just played him in a chess match that he didn't even know was happening. But those are my thoughts. What do you think? Do you think that this sentence might actually be the judge's clever move to stick Somali in a worse facility for a longer period of time? Or do you think the judge simply went soft on him for some other reason? Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. Thanks again to Tingly for sponsoring this video, and be sure to follow the link in the description below for your special Mother's Day deal. Otherwise, I hope you enjoyed this, or at least found it interesting or informative. And if you did, I'd love it if you could hit the like button. It does help us with the YouTube algorithm gods. And if you need help with a real legal issue in your life, contact us at the Bytes Law Group, linked in the description below. Now, something that can make a big difference in these cases is whether or not your case is in the hands of a good lawyer. And so many people are out there fighting these battles without the best person on their team. I started Legalbytes because I saw this massive gap between how the legal system actually works and what most people understand about it. When you don't know your rights and you can't understand legal jargon that's used, when you're intimidated by the whole process, that's when you're most vulnerable. Making these videos, breaking down trials, explaining the law in ways that actually make sense to most people, that has been incredible. But after years of doing this, I wanted to do more. Because the thing is, when you're facing a real legal problem, you need someone in your corner who gets it. And that's why I created the Bytes Law Group. It's the same mission as this channel. Make the law work for you, not against you. Whether you're dealing with a consumer issue, you've been wronged by a company, or you just need someone to fight for your rights, we are here to help. I built this firm on the same principle as I built this channel. You deserve to understand what's happening in your case. You deserve straight answers, and you deserve a lawyer who treats you like a person, not a case number. We are taking the same approach that I take in every single video, breaking things down, empowering you with knowledge, and actually giving a damn about the outcome. So if you need legal help, check out Bytes Law Group at bytes.law, also linked in the description below. And if you don't need us right now, that's great too. I hope you keep watching, keep learning, and keep growing your understanding of your rights. That's how we make the world a better place.